Hi everybody and welcome to an EMnify webinar. Today I'm going to introduce you to the EMnify User Interface. This webinar is mostly for new users of our solution or people who wish to understand how the EMnify User Interface works. If you've already used the EUI for a while, it might be a bit redundant, but I hope you'll still learn a few things. Before I go too deeply, can you please let me know if you can hear me well by putting something in the question panel, like yes, so I'm sure I can start. All right, thank you very much. So, my name is Jean Ambroise. I've been working as a customer success manager for a year now at EMnify. And today we'll see which steps are necessary to get a device online using an EMnify SIM card. After quickly understanding the usage flow of the EUI, we'll see how to register a SIM card. Then we'll create, and I will especially define what an endpoint is. Then we'll see how to manage service and tariff profiles, which will enable you to define which connectivity services and where your devices will be able to work. And finally, we'll simply get the device online. We'll finish with a Q&A session. Talking about that, if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to enter them in the question panel. I added a screenshot to the presentation. So if I feel I can directly answer the question and it fits with the presentation, I will do it on the fly. Otherwise, I will do it at the end. But just put everything you have. Hopefully, I will answer the questions during the presentation. And well, the presentation should last more or less 30 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. So let's go. Regarding the usage flow, it's quite easy. I divided this in 5 steps. You will first sign up and setting up your EUI account. Then you will place the order for specific SIMs. You will have the possibility with the EUI to manage your SIM and optimize the usage. And finally, you will also use the EUI for payments and payment history. So if we divide those 5 categories, this is 5 items in 2 categories. We have what I call the EUI as relationship management with the sign up, the SIM order, and the payments. And then you will also use the EUI as connectivity management when managing your SIM and your connectivity. Today, I will not talk about all those parts. This is the first webinar of a series of webinars the customer success team is organizing. And we'll have the possibility to talk more deeply about each item. So regarding the SIM registration, it is quite easy. On the SIM card, you have what we call a batch identification code, which is a 16-digit code. You will have to enter this in the EUI in order to assign this SIM, which is in our database, to your specific account. Let's take a look at it on the EUI. This is the account that you have at the beginning. Let me zoom a bit so that you have a better view maybe. This is the start page of the EUI on which you can directly do a few things. The first thing you would do, as I said, after signing up would be to order specific SIMs. I came prepared and already have one SIM here, so I would directly dive into register the SIM card. Here I have the possibility to enter the 16-digit code and register either one SIM card or all the SIM cards within a batch of SIMs. You don't have to register SIMs one by one if you have ordered 500, for example. How does it look? When you have registered and when you have entered the bit code, you have the possibility to directly activate the SIM, and then you also have the possibility to directly create an endpoint, which is the second step. I've already assigned the SIM to my account. I already registered this. So when I take a look at my account, it looks like this. I have 2 SIMs so that I can show the difference between an already registered and configured SIM and a brand new SIM which has just been issued. The first difference is the little information under the SIM It says issued. I just registered it, and this one is activated and already has been configured. What are the differences between those two statuses? Basically, if the card is activated, you're paying for it. If the card is issued or suspended, you're not paying for it. You can change the status of your SIM card whenever you want, simply by selecting the SIM card and suspending it or activating it. Changing the status doesn't cost anything. However, as soon as you've activated the SIM card, even for 1 second, you will be charged with the monthly fee. What are the other differences between a configured card and a virgin card? You can see that this one has been assigned to an endpoint. EP stands for endpoint, whereas this one has not. It means that I can already use this SIM card, whereas I will not be able to use the just registered SIM card. So I've been talking about endpoints. Let's take a look at the second part, which is endpoint creation and endpoint configuration. So what is an endpoint exactly, and why do we have the differentiation on the EMnify user interface between an endpoint and a SIM card? Well, it's a bit like in the real world where our customers have IoT devices and they have the SIM card. They put the SIM card in the IoT devices. As we will do in the EUI, we will assign the SIM card to an endpoint, which is the graphical representation of the IoT devices in the EUI user interface. Basically, as in the real life, once you've put the SIM card in the device, you only take care of the device configuration. In the UI, it's the same. As soon as the SIM card has been assigned to the endpoint, you only configure the endpoint. So let's take a look at that. I go to the tab Endpoint. Here, as I said, I already have an endpoint which is configured, so we'll just configure a new one. I click on Create Endpoint, and here I can give the name I want. Name. The name can be changed whenever you want. And if you have different projects with different endpoints, what I would advise you to do in order to have a good overview of your endpoints is to enter the project name and then a specific name of the endpoint. ICCID is the serial number of the SIM card. This is where we will actually assign the SIM card to an endpoint. As the SIM card is not activated yet, I have the possibility to activate the SIM right away. If the SIM card is not activated, my endpoint will never be able to go online. But here it gives me the possibility to set up my whole project and at the end only to activate the SIM card. Meaning if I want to configure everything at the end of April and start using my devices in May, I would advise you to only activate the SIM cards at the beginning of May in order not to pay the monthly fee for April. So here I will not activate the SIM card. I need to define which connectivity services and where my device will be able to work. I do this in service profile and tariff profile. When you just created your account, you have generic service profile and generic tariff profile available, and we'll take a look at their configuration in a few minutes. Then I have the possibility to, I have to assign an IP address to my endpoints. Important fact about the IP addresses, they are for all devices using an EMnify SIM card. The IP addresses are static and private for more security. If you need to access your devices from your local network, we have possibilities to do so with VPN solutions. This will also be the topic of a future webinar. I click on Create Endpoint. My endpoint has been created, and here I have two endpoints. One has already been created and already used. The other is brand new. I have some specific information, the name, the ICCID, which is the information about the SIM card. I have the MS ISDN, which is the phone number of the SIM card. So if I want to send an SMS to this device, I should send an SMS to this phone number with 00 at the beginning. I have the IP, and I have the IMEI of the device. This is the serial number of the device, which will enable any network operator to identify a network device on the network. So here I have the IMEI, and here I don't have the IMEI. The reason for this is that we receive the IMEI on the EMnify user interface at the first connection. It will enable us to do to use one feature, which is the IMEI lock. If I go to the tab configuration, I will be able to lock the SIM to this specific IMEI, or choose to use my SIM with any device. This adds a layer of security for your devices, especially when you're using devices used by anybody, like GPS trackers. You don't want your end customers to take the SIM and use it somewhere else, so you will be able to lock it here. This is also a quick tip of mine to understand if your device already had a first connection, is that you can see, okay, this endpoint has an IMEI in the EMnify user interface, this one doesn't. It means that this one never had any connectivity. Okay, so we are in the configuration tab of the endpoint. What else can I do here? I can, of course, change the service profile and tariff profile at any time. I can change the name of my endpoint at any time also. So I can here enter project 2 and call it project 2 GPS, for example. Don't forget to save. And my endpoint name just changed. I have other possibilities, for example, the operator blacklist. This is a very interesting feature if you are experiencing issues with one specific operator. You have the possibility to switch to another one by using this specific option. So I am in Germany. I will look for the providers in Germany. We have 4. And if I don't want to stay connected to O2, which is sometimes a bit problematic in Germany, I will blacklist O2, and then I will make sure that my device only connect to other providers. I also have interesting stats about my devices. I can see exactly how much data I used when and how much cost it incurred. The events is a very interesting tab to understand how my device is behaving, and it will help me to start debugging a specific endpoint or device on the network. So here I can see that I have suspended and activated the SIM card 7 and 8 minutes ago. My last connection was shut 15 minutes ago, and if I want to have clear information regarding the time, I click on this button here, and I see that the last connection was stopped at 9:57 a.m. this morning. How to debug devices will also be part of a future webinar, I hope. So if you want to know more about this, feel free at the end in the survey to give us some information about which topic you want to hear about next time. Finally, I have the SMS tab, which will enable me to send SMS to my devices using the EMnify user interface. This is very useful, especially when you need to use SMS for device configuration, which is usually the case for GPS trackers, for example. Okay, so this is basically it regarding the creation and definition of an endpoint. The next item on the list are the service and tariff profiles. So we'll take a closer look right away, but let's define them first. So the service profile defines the connectivity services an endpoint will be able to use. So let's take a look at what it means exactly. I have my generic service profile here, which is the first one already available on your profile when you created your EMnify account. And when I go to configuration, I will be able to define the services. So, for example, I currently have my SIM card in my mobile phone. If this is my business and I don't want my customers to be able to use too much data, I can either block 4G and 3G. So I know with 2G they will not be able to use YouTube too much and increase my costs. I can also choose if they should be able to send or receive SMS. SMS MO means mobile originated. The device sends the SMS, or SMS mobile terminated, the device receives the SMS. So if I click on here, I know my customers using the smartphones with EMnify SIM cards will not be able to use 3G or 4G, and they will not be able to send SMS. We have also the possibility to set some limits with the supplementary functions that are here, quota management or prepaid balance. This will be part of the next webinar in 2 weeks. Or we have the possibility to set specific usage limits here by adding, for example, a limit to the data. And I will say I only want this device to use 50 megabytes per month. Just as the endpoint configuration, the service profile configuration can be changed whenever you want. Usually our customers have one or two service profile, one for testing and the other for production. And I would advise you to do the same as the endpoint. Here, call it, for example, testing SP. And here, enter which connectivity services are available. So 2G only, SMS empty, and data limit. If I take a look at my device, I just at my device here, I will see in the configuration, it's using the testing SP, so the testing service profile. It will be able to use SMS empty. It has data, but it's only limited to 50 megabytes per month. That's basically it for the service profiles. Let's take a look at the tariff profiles now. Also the generic one. If I take a look at the rate zones, I see that we have 5 different zones in this specific usage tariff. It means that we as EMnify have divided the world into 5 different zones depending on the tariffs we have for data. As a roaming solution, we always buy and resell connectivity. And depending on the buying prices that we have, we are able to give to our customers also more interesting prices. And this is how we split the world. Zone 1 is basically represents all the countries and mobile operator in which we have the best rate zones, the best connectivity prices. I have the list of countries available in Zone 1, and the stars are show the amount of providers available in specific countries. I can have a better view by clicking on this button here. I can see that in Albania, I have 2 providers, which are Vodafone and Eagle Mobile. I can simply add a second rate zone. And if I want to know exactly which countries and which operators are part of which rate zone, I can take a look here or export the information in a CSV file. This is another very interesting feature of the EMnify user interface, the possibility to export everything. We are an API-driven company, so you can export everything, of course, via API, but through the EUI, you can export all your events, you can export all the information about the endpoints, the SIM cards, and so on. Once again, this will be part, most probably, of the 3rd webinar, so in 4 weeks, in which we will display where to find which information and how to analyze better all information available in the EMnify user interface. So that's basically it for the tariff profile. Once again, you can also divide the tariff profile based on your projects. Certain devices will only be able to use zone 1, others zone 2, depending on your use case, and of course, contract with us. Once you've configured everything, the last part that you need to do is the configuration of your device. On the device itself, you need to configure two things. The APN, the access point name, needs to be set to EM. If you're requested to set a password or a username, just don't put anything there. Only enter EM for the access point name. Sometimes it's too short, just put some stars or spaces. But it needs to be set, otherwise your device will not get online. And of course, roaming needs to be enabled because as a virtual mobile operator, we are always roaming. This is usually the case for IoT devices, but if you're using our SIM cards in smartphones, like we're mostly testing here at EMnify, then you need to make sure roaming is enabled. And once your device is online, we clearly see so. So I just switched on my configured device, and we can see that it is online on 4G. I just disabled 4G and 3G a moment ago in the service profile. However, the device needs to have a reset connectivity in order to get this information, because any changes in the service profile or tariff profile will not be immediate, will not be directly applied, because we need to inform the local provider. So it usually takes a bit of time, or you need to physically reboot your device. When the device is online, you also have more information. You have the information about the public IP currently used by the device, which is this one. It is a European IP. We also have the possibility to choose different IP addresses in the service profile. And you will also see in the events that the device has just created a PDP context, which means the device just got online. Create PDP context is right here. Update location, we know to which provider the device is connected, Vodafone in Germany, and several other information available here. That's about it regarding how to get your device online using an EMnify SIM card. So if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the question panel. If you have a microphone and want to ask a question orally, just also send me brief information in the question panel, and I have the possibility to activate your microphone so that we can have a quick chat. Was quite fast, I noticed, 23 minutes. I guess it was very clear. Okay, I don't see any questions, so just we can wait a few more minutes. I can already make some advertisement for the next webinar. It will happen on the 18th of April at 4 p.m. this time, so that people situated in the USA can join. And we will take a clear look on how to manage the services. So we'll see how to set data. I've done it already today, but I will give more information about that. We'll see what it means to set prepaid balances, and we'll take a look at the quota we can set on the endpoints. Okay, I don't see any questions. I'll wait one more minute so that if something comes to your mind, you have the possibility to write something. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining the webinar today. You will get at the end a quick survey to know if you were happy with the webinar, what you thought of it, and you will have the possibility to add some quick comments about this session or any future sessions you would like to see in a customer success webinar. All right. No questions. Anyhow, you have my email address here, ja@emnify.com. I'm available. Just send me an email, and I'll make sure to get back to you quickly. Thank you very much again, and have a good day. Bye.